Awesome. Good evening. It's not often that I get to do meetings while people are eating steak and having a nice drink there, so that's pretty cool. Y'all get a better setting than a lot of folks that I deal with, so that's awesome. And I'll probably stand between you and the weekend, so that's another good thing. With that, I'll keep my comments short and to the point. So I'll spare you of some of the stories that I tell in some of these presentations that are probably lame for people anyway. What I do want to accomplish in our time together is a couple of things. One, make sure you're aware of what to expect over the next several weeks as assets transfer from Fidelity over to MassMutual, and then give you an idea of how to interact with your account once it comes to MassMutual and some of the tools and resources at your disposal. I'll buzz through these first couple, and I apologize for my projector having to shoot at an angle, but we're going to be able to accomplish what we need to. One thing that makes MassMutual really unique is we've been around over 165 years. And we're a really strong company, so you don't have to worry about turning on the news on Monday morning and seeing that MassMutual is no longer in existence. We're going to be around for a lot longer as well to serve you and your retirement needs, so you can have confidence in that. I'll skip through this. But what's ahead, I'm going to talk about the blackout period, transfer timeline, what will happen to your assets during that time period, and then actions you can take between now and then should you want to. So some important dates. First one, October the 30th. So we're still a few weeks away, but that's when the blackout period is going to start. Okay, when I say blackout period, all we're talking about there is when things start getting ready to shut down over at Fidelity and move to MassMutual. So on October the 30th, if you log into your Fidelity account and you don't see anything there, don't panic. Okay? All that's happening is they're getting ready to close all the transactions down on their system and move everything to MassMutual. Another important thing about that date is because they're starting to shut things down, should you need to make any changes prior to that, you need to get them done. Okay, so any major change to your account, any information you need, get it before October the 30th. October 30th, we start closing things down. Now the blackout period in theory can stay open 30 days. It rarely goes that long. If you look at the next line here, those assets are scheduled to liquidate at Fidelity and come to MassMutual the week of November the 4th. So we will likely be out of blackout by the second week of November. The week of November the 11th, you should log on to MassMutual, all your assets will have moved over. Okay? Now, again, for compliance purposes, all of that, we leave that window open 30 days. Coming from a company like Fidelity, it's not going to last that long. Okay? Again, transactions suspended during that blackout period, which more than likely will be a 10 to 14 day deal. Next, what's next? So prior to the blackout period, a couple of things you can do on MassMutual's end. So now that we understand the timing of when assets are going to move and all that good stuff, a lot of times people say, okay, what happens to my investments as they are today when assets move? You can actually go on MassMutual's website today, okay, or Monday, because you might not want to deal with the financial website on the weekend. It's up and running. But you can actually go on and build out your allocation of however you want your money invested once it moves over. Okay? You have until the 30th of October to do that. If you don't do that before then, once the assets come over, you can still go on and set it however you want. If you don't take any action, so if you say, hey, I'm not going to go, you lose track of time, or you say, hey, I'm just going to continue to be in a default option, we'll place you in an appropriate target date fund based on your age. And how those funds operate is they look at your age and they say, based on your age, you're going to retire on or around a certain year. And Legg Mason's the money manager that will be managing those funds. They'll invest those funds appropriately to your targeted retirement date. So for example, my targeted retirement date is 2055, okay? So Legg Mason looks at that and they say, hey, he has a long time to retirement. He can have a good bit of aggressive instruments on the table, but the closer I get to retirement, they're going to take that aggressive portfolio down to a more conservative portfolio. All that happens automatically. So that's where you'll go if you don't take any action. But you have the rest of the month, October, to log on the website and actually make those changes and set it up however you'd like. Okay? Also, within those booklets that came around, there's an enrollment form. So if you say, hey, I don't want to go on a website and do anything, you can do it on that enrollment form. And I also have some cards I'll talk about a little bit later as we wrap up that has an 800 number on it. You can actually call and give them the allocation as well. Okay, so there's 3 different ways you can get that set up. I know this is a little bit hard to see here, but this is actually outlining your new investment options. And you've received some communications, or will receive some communications. We're in October, you should have received some communications on these options. And I've outlined the timeline that I've discussed, but there's various options to choose from if you do want to build out your own portfolio. And then you also have the target date options that I mentioned. And all of these are listed here, so you have a good amount of options to choose from. Now, one important thing to remember about this plan, it's a really generous plan. You need to be appreciative of that, and you certainly need to take advantage of it, because when we talk about matching contributions, that's free money. Okay, and free money is not something that's easy to come by. And sometimes when I say free money, people are a little skeptical, but free money, employer matching contributions in a 401k plan is as close to free money as you'll ever get. And the way the match works, anytime there's a match, I always like to remind people of it. They'll match 100% on the first 4% of your deferred compensation. So if you do 4%, they're going to do 4% on your behalf. You can certainly contribute above and beyond that, but they're going to match at 4%. Okay, free money. Make sure you're doing at least 4% to take advantage of that. Also, it's a safe harbor match, so those matching contributions are 100% vested. That means that's your money when it hits your account, which is also really, really nice. Now, one thing I always encourage people to do, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I always encourage people to save more. And the reason I do that is I do a lot of these meetings and I've yet to have anyone come to me and complain about having too much money when they reach retirement. But a lot of times people say, hey, I'd like to save more, but I have stuff going on. And I'm going to show you a couple of resources we have to help with that. But here's a couple of ideas, and I just want to illustrate this because small changes can make a big difference. Okay? And I'll repeat that, small changes can make a big difference. And if we look at this, we look at some habits that we may have. Maybe it's going to the movies, maybe it's coffee, maybe it's lunch. But we look at that on a monthly basis, and if those aren't 3 things you do, I'm sure that you can plug in something that I spend $25 a month on that I could probably route that money elsewhere. Okay, I hadn't been to the movie in years. My wife falls asleep in movies, so I quit paying for that. Okay, that was a good out. But I am guilty of the last one because I'm out on the road, so sometimes I eat out too much for lunch, so I could probably plug that in. But if we actually route those small amounts, $25, $40, $100 a month, and invest those, they can become huge amounts over time. So if I look at $100 a month over 20 years, that could be an extra $46,000 for my retirement. Over 30 years, $100,000, and then over 40 years, $200,000 extra in my retirement if I find an extra $100 a month. And then you see the smaller examples there as well. And one of the things I'm going to show you next is going to be something that looks at your overall picture. It's a good way to help find those additional savings. So this is what the website looks like, except when you view it on your own device, it's not blurry. It is when you shoot a projector at an angle, because your extension cord is non-existent. As far as managing your account, anything you're going to want to do, you'll see this I want to section over here. This will be change contribution, change investments, view a statement. Anything you want to do to manage your account will be under the I want to, and I'll spell out exactly there. Just click on it, follow the cues. Really easy to use there. Another thing about the site, it is mobile responsive, so if you want to use it with your cell phone, etc., you can do that. We also have an app. The app functionality at this time is basically like viewing a statement, so you're not going to make any changes or really do much interaction through that, but you are going to be able to see your balance and performance, etc., via the app. But one of the tools that I was talking about was something to help not only with long-term but also short-term goals, which you access right through here where you see this round score. If I go in and I click improve my score, it'll take me into a module which will allow me to actually populate some information about myself that's going to go far above and beyond just the 401k plan. So it will actually allow me to, I know this stuff's blurry, so I'll talk through it. I can include a spouse if I want to. I can include if I have dependents, if I want to save for college for those dependents. I'll continue on. So we'll put I have a child and save some money there. It'll look at my savings, it'll look at my debt, it'll look at my current insurance coverages, health, life, disability. It looks at a lot of things, but the output is what's really valuable. Once I plug in all my coverages here, it's going to give me a game plan that shows me where my next dollar will be best spent. Once that populates for me. There, so it gives me a score. So I have a benchmark of where I'm at today. And then it will show me how to improve the score. So it may say, hey, your first priority is healthcare. You need to save some money there. Maybe your second, maybe I don't have any disability income. That's where my next dollar is best spent. I can actually dig in further to this. I click explore, and it'll tell me, based on your needs, here's what you should have. Based on your budget, here's what you can afford today. So it may say, hey, for disability or a term life policy, it's going to cost you $30 in the marketplace, and that fits into your budget. So it gives you a lot of information on where you should be allocating those dollars to improve your overall financial picture. The interesting thing about this, when you look at this, we have healthcare, disability, income insurance, term life insurance, and then retirement income. So let's be the retirement provider, you'd think, well, the first thing we're going to tell you to do is save more for retirement. That's not always the best case, so that's not what we're going to tell you to do. So you can certainly take advantage of this. Great tool. It's going to give you valuable information and look at the overall big picture, not just save more for retirement. Okay, so there is a program and administrative charge to run the plan. Luckily for you, White Oak is paying that. So that 1.15%, White Oak pays that. You don't incur that cost. The only cost you're going to incur is fund expense. And that's going to be dictated based on how you choose to invest your funds. And you'll see there's index funds as low as 0.06% to actively managed funds in the 0.5%, 0.75% range, depending on the style of the fund and the manager. But there are adequate options. So if you're a low-cost investor, there's going to be options to keep you at an extremely low-cost plan, up to 0.5% if you're looking for active management. The fact is, the company's taking on the bulk of the cost, which is a huge benefit for you. Coupled with the fact that they match those dollars, it's a great resource that you need to make sure that you're taking advantage of. With that, any questions, or Jake, Logan, anything that y'all would want to add?
No, I would just add, fund expenses, y'all are already paying those in your current plan. So, you already have some target date funds. The target date funds that we're going to offer are actually less expensive and have better historical performance. One other thing I would add, and maybe we can go through this when you're done, Benji, but you do have an investment option that's called My Model Goals. So that we have actually built out 5 different models for you, ranging from conservative to aggressive. Those models are made up of index funds, so they're super low cost. And MassMutual, along with some of our investment partners, we will rebalance and reallocate those models for you on a quarterly basis, right? So you're really getting active management. It's almost like having a financial advisor, a personal financial advisor for free from a wealth management standpoint. It's pretty unique to the MassMutual plan. I haven't seen any other plans out there that have models like that they don't charge any extra for. No additional cost. You can choose that model. You can choose your risk tolerance. and we manage the money for you in super low cost index investments. So that's all I had.
And you'll see when you go to the investment tab, there's basically going to be 3 options. I'm glad you mentioned that. There'll be a do-it-yourself option, a risk-based option, which is the model my goals Jake talked about, which will be aggressive down to conservative, and then an age-based, which is the target date option. So you can actually, to enter in any of those, you start there, and then it'll point you in the right direction. Also, if you're saying, hey, am I aggressive or am I conservative? I don't really know, or maybe I used to be aggressive, but I don't know if I'm still aggressive. When you go to that risk-based portion, it will allow you to take a quiz, which is like 8 questions, which will tell you whether you're moderate, aggressive, conservative, etc. It'll tell you based on your answers which one of those you should look at.
And I guess last thing, and I can point out the page, there's some information in here. Everybody's plan, everybody's account that, the plan that you have over Fidelity that was with White Oak, that will automatically transfer over. But if you do have other old 401ks or IRAs with previous companies that you work for, and you would like to consolidate them all into one plan, we can help you do that. There is on page, I believe it's like page 15 here. It's in your book. I'll find the page and tell you all in a minute. But anyways, there is a 1-800 number that you can call, and they will hold your hand through that rollover process. They'll get you the proper documents and paperwork, and you can get all of those plans consolidated into one. That way you're not trying to keep track of your 401k plan of a company that you worked for about 10 years ago.
And if you had a Fidelity account with Team One, that is a separate account, so you would have to roll that separate. It will not move if you happen to have one from before.
And again, Logan and I will be hanging around. Y'all enjoy your dinner, and please come ask us questions if you have any at all. And then Benji has that sign-up sheet if you would like to schedule a phone call or a one-on-one meeting with any of us. Please sign up. We would love to talk to you, and really look forward to working with you all. So excited.
And on the one-on-one meetings, I'm up here about every other week, so it's pretty easy to pick a day in there, Thursday or Friday, and we can meet in the afternoon.
And I'm in there about once a month.
Yep.
I'm going to also leave these wallet cards. This is by far the best marketing piece we've ever had because it's easy to keep up with, which has our website that I talked about, the web address, and also the 800 number. Okay. One thing that I will
take 1 or 2 or 3 of those, just because it's a great tool.
One thing I will plug about the call center, if you've had worked with call centers in the past and you're like, I'm never calling another call center ever again, these people are really good. They're based in Connecticut and Phoenix. They're there through like 8 Eastern, so they're very, very helpful. Always have an award-winning call center, so don't be scared to give these folks a try. And then the financial wellness or goal setting piece that I talked about, Map My Finances, I also have some handouts that I'll leave behind on that as well, so you get an idea of what that looks like navigating and where to find it on the website. Awesome. Thank y'all for the time. If there are no questions.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just real quick, when you talk about the blackout period, again, until October 30th, we have a chance to change things prior. And if you want to leave it the way it is, status quo, you can just leave it. When the blackout period ends, is that an automatic thing? Like you just don't have to sweat it, you don't have to check it, your deductions, everything will be automatic after the blackout period?
So the amount of the deduction won't change. So
Well, nobody
the
can take it
percentage.
out.
Right.
So I know you're doing the transitions, once the blackout period's over, it's that automatic one.
Yes.
So it'd be the same as it was before.
So if you've had
unless
4%
you wanted to
being
change it.
withheld, yeah, the only thing that you would change during that would be the actual investment strategy. That's a
Let's talk
great.
about the activity.
Activities.
Like, basically, it's gonna be put on pause, like you're watching a movie. And then when November 30th, or end of the spectrum comes around and goes, then y'all would be pushing play, right?
Correct. Yep.
That's what we're doing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. It's on.
All the blackout period is the money moving from one company to another, and it settles.
I just wanna make sure there's nothing on his part, that, like, I gotta go in and click to make sure it starts.
No.
Yeah, and I will talk one real quick about beneficiaries. So it is good practice, everyone, if you want to do it, on paper, you can do it through this enrollment book. You can also do it on your website, but everyone should name at least a primary beneficiary. Automatically, your spouse is your primary beneficiary. If you don't want it to be your spouse, he or she does have to sign off on that, so good luck with that. But I would also, go in and name a contingent beneficiary. Contingent beneficiary means, God forbid, your primary beneficiary that predeceases you, or you are deceased at the same time, then the money will go to the contingent beneficiary. So it's the secondary beneficiary, if that
So
makes
this
sense.
discount run, do we have to go in and redo this?
Excuse me?
The names and
It,
we,
well, it does, but it is good practice to redo it. No, if you're married, automatically your spouse is your primary beneficiary.
I mean, we've already got our second, third and all that. But
It should come over, but it's two big institutions trying to talk to each other. It's important. So I would go in and double check that your contingents have moved over. One thing about retirement plans is your beneficiary designation, that is your will, right? With retirement plans, all of that avoids probate. So whoever is on that paper, on that beneficiary designation, that's who gets the money if something happens to you. And I've seen it happen where ex-spouses were left on the beneficiary designations, and you don't want that, right? So it is, please check that as the plan moves over. You can go in and do it online. There's information on that in this packet here. There's also a beneficiary designation form in this packet. If you lose the packet, you need one, contact us, we'll send it to you. 1-800 number, they can help you as well on that. But that is very important. Thanks, guys. That's about it. We'll stop annoying you all about retirement plans.